About a week ago on Fox News, Jessica Tarloff, who is like the liberal pundit on Fox. They put her on all the different shows. She's always outnumbered, but she's really quite brilliant. She's really quite brilliant, and she's willing to stand her ground. She's willing to stand her ground and speak up for what she believes. She was talking to another dude. That dude in the picture. They were having a conversation about the cuts, about the various cuts that Doge was making, the Elon Musk's group was making, the number of people who were being laid off. And in this particular case, it was literally the people who were being laid off. And this guy got giddy. He got excited. Like he had this smirk on his face. He had this smile. And he even like sort of made light of it. Jessica Tarloff at one point says, how many people do you want laid off? And he says, well, could we start with half? And he like, that wasn't a sincere thing. That was a joke. He was joking about people being laid off. And again, there was a joy, a happiness about him as he described these people losing their jobs. Now, it wasn't long before this that Bella the Ranch read a letter from one of her viewers, and in that letter, I couldn't tell you what the video is about. I couldn't tell you what the letter was about. I just remember this one description that the author of the letter used to describe federal workers, and it was worthless bureaucrats. And it was that word worthless. I was like, who's worthless? How can we describe somebody as worthless? But this person was really happy that these worthless people, these worthless workers, these worthless bureaucrats were going to be turfed. They were going to be laid off by the thousands. Now, I get it that, well, it's going to save us money. Well, it's not going to save you all that much money, but I understand the premise that the smaller the government, the better in some people's estimations. But they're people. They're not just bureaucrats. Bureaucrats, a nice title we can give them, and we don't have to think of them as people. Worthless bureaucrats, we don't have to think about them as people. What did Elon Musk call it? The parasite, the parasite class. We'll call them the parasite class, and now they're not people anymore. They're the parasite class, or whatever the case, whatever it is we want to label them. But they are people, and those people. Well, those jobs matter to those people. The salary they earn matters to those people. Their wages matter to them. Those wages help them provide for themselves. Those salaries help them provide for themselves and their families. Those salaries help them give their spouse and their children a nice life. Those people need those jobs. Those jobs matter to those people. Those jobs provide for those people life. They help them live. They help them afford their life. And this guy was, to me, it struck me as he was almost ecstatic just at the thought that all these people were going to lose their jobs. All these people were going to be laid off. All of these people would no longer be drawing a salary from the federal government. The Bible, it offers us some instruction on this. And the Proverbs says it. And there's epistles that speak of this. Obadiah, the prophet, Obadiah says something about it. But it boils down to this. Do not rejoice when people fail. Do not rejoice when people fall. Do not rejoice when people suffer. Do not let your heart be glad. Do not let your heart be filled with joy when others struggle. Proverbs 24 says, do not rejoice when your enemy falls. Do not let your heart be glad when he stumbles. Obadiah says, do not gloat over the day of your brother. Do not gloat over the day of your brother in the day of his misfortune. Do not rejoice over the people of Judah in the day of their ruin. Do not boast in the day of distress. Proverbs 17 says, whoever mocks the poor insults the maker. He who is glad at calamity will not go unpunished. I know there's this whole what's the FAFO, that there's folks on both sides going, oh, you messed around and now you're finding out. Oh, the leopard does eat faces. You know the stuff, right? I'm seeing a lot of it on my algorithm simply because, probably because of the stuff that I watch, but people in red states who find themselves struggling. I remember listening to a story from, I believe it was a woman in Michigan. She worked for the Parks Department. Her and her partner were getting ready to. They voted for Trump because he promised free IVF, and that hasn't come through. And she was laid off via text. Who lays somebody off on a text message? You're not even supposed to break up with somebody on a text message. How do you lay somebody off with a text message? Anyway, she lost her job with the Parks Department. A decision that was made by the people who work for the guy she voted for. And she messed around and found out. None of us, not this guy, not Miss Tarloff, not anybody else on Fox News, not anybody on CNN or anybody else, and none of us, regardless of who we voted for. We should never, ever, ever, ever be glad when another person suffers, even if they did it to themselves. We shouldn't be glad when another person experiences pain, even from the consequences of their actions. We shouldn't gloat. We shouldn't rejoice. We shouldn't giggle. We shouldn't be giddy with, happiness inside. It's misplaced. It's distasteful. It's beneath us. When people suffer, they don't need us adding to it. When people are experiencing pain, or when they're experiencing issues in their life, they don't need us adding to it. Oh my gosh, who here loves to hear, "Oh, I told you so"? None of us. Nobody likes to hear "I told you so." Nobody wants to look around and see people giddy about their circumstances. I mean, we're supposed to love one another. We're supposed to love one another. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who we voted for. We're supposed to love one another. And if your neighbor's just lost their job, we should feel for them. If your neighbor has lost their career, we should feel badly for them. We should pray for them. We should offer them words of compassion and sympathy. We should be willing to listen to what it is they're going through. Not because they voted for the person we voted for, just because they're a human being who's going through a difficult time. This guy, it was really distasteful listening to him. It was really gross watching him happily describe how many people he thinks should lose their livelihood. My prayer for all of us is that we don't follow him. Don't follow him down that path of, they're getting what they deserve. So good to see them go. So good to see them have their day. Get their comeuppance. Let's be better than that. Let's rise above that. Let's be people of love, period. People of compassion, period. Sympathy, forgiveness, gentleness and kindness, period. Regardless of who the other happens to be. Regardless of where the other happens to come from, regardless of what the other happens to do or who they voted for or anything else. Rise above it. We are better than that. Show them love, kindness, and compassion. Let's be those people, not that guy. Amen.